Welcome to Killer Women with your host, best-selling author Danielle Girard. And now, Danielle's next killer woman.
Hello, and welcome to Killer Women Podcast, a proud member of the Authors on the Air global network with more than 4 million listeners. I am your host, suspense author Danielle Girard, and my guest today is Ande Pliego. When not reading or writing, Ande can usually be found dabbling in art, scheming up her next trip, or making constant expeditions to the library. Born in Florida, raised in France, and having left footprints all over the globe, Ande has settled in the Pacific Northwest with her little son. Ande Pliego is the best-selling author of You Are Fatally Invited and The Library After Dark, which is what we're here to talk about. Welcome, Ande.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to chat.
So fun. Okay, this book, I really want to dig in. It's so clever. It really feels like something that should have been written by a British author. Does that, do you know what I mean?
Wonderful compliment.
I know.
I'll take it. Thank
I
you.
know. Not to diss all Americans, but I do feel like it feels, like a little like a V.E. Schwab book. Which actually, to
amazing
me, is
compliment too.
I know. I love her book so much. So it has that kind of that sort of magical element. So before we dig in, which I'm obviously already doing, and look at this fabulous cover, tell our listeners about The Library After Dark.
Yes, so this is my second novel, and it is a dark academic thriller that takes place in a library where an After Dark tour group gets trapped inside the library at night, and it might be a haunted library. And so there's this whole is it a serial killer or is it a ghost kind of vibe to it? And the characters have to make their way through this library at night through the themed rooms that are very complicated in the passageways and this and that as they slowly uncover that there's more that the library is hiding than they think. So yeah.
It's meant to be sort of a private tour. At first, Arya and Jasper are there on a sort of second date. Is it?
Yeah.
Almost. And it sounds like it's going to be private. It turns out there's a lot more participants than were expected, and each of them is keeping a secret, which I have to say I love. There are secrets and secrets and secrets inside secrets. So I have to ask, because I am not a plotter.
Yes.
I can't imagine writing a book like this without having really laid it out. So tell us how what was it?
Yes. So lots of laying on the floor, pulling my hair out and being like, I don't understand how all these pieces fit together. No. So one of actually the main things that I do when I plot a complicated book, and I can show you without giving too many spoilers, but is I make a map, and I'll show it very briefly.
Oh,
but
wow.
It's a map where at the center I have, whatever the central topic is or the central question. So for You Are Fatally Invited, it was, who is J.R. Alistair, this big author, anonymous author. For this book, it is how do all of these characters connect to the library and its previous owner, who has mysteriously passed away. And there's question over her death and how that happened. So then I have the central, question that everyone needs to contribute to. And so then I draw, each of the characters around it, kind of like a circle. And then I draw all the lines, going across. So like this person's related to this person and this person knows the secret about that and whatnot. So it's a big web that I have to then translate.
And I love that. I'm assuming the first versions of that weren't nearly as tidy as it looks now.
No, they were.
I'm like, whoa. But okay, so I love that. That makes so much sense to sort of really and I'm a visual person too. So the idea that you can see the connections, and you of course spend a lot of time pulling your hair out. And then once you knew that how everyone was connected to the library and the previous owner, and then there's the library has sort of this dark history itself, right? So it's its own character. Yes. How did you go about writing? I mean, from there, did you sort of map out? Because it happens kind of in stages, and there's this lovely little fairy tales that sort of connect. So tell the readers a little bit about that, sort of how the book is structured, because it's so interesting too.
Yeah, so kind of the idea is that these characters come to this After Dark toured group that is, it's exclusive. Our main character, Arya, is there on a Valentine's Day date, and they think it's just going to be them two, and it is not just them two. Their date gets crashed by a bunch of people. And they're all there to see this collection of dark fairy tales that was said to have inspired like Brothers Grimm and Pinocchio and Alice in Wonderland. So it's said to be before all of those. So they're all there to see this book. And so there are actually those fairy tales from that collection are sprinkled throughout the physical book. And they play into, there's a lot of layers you can kind of parse through. They play into the deaths of, like how these characters start, popping off. And anyways, there's as many layers as you want to peel into it. So you can just read it on the surface and have fun. But if you want to kind of go deeper and be like, okay, like how does this connect to this character? And how does the story connect to, this plot point? You can do all of that. So hopefully there's something for everyone there. But yeah, and then I don't know if that quite answered your question.
No, it did. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then so when you were figuring it out, I mean, because it is really, I mean, it's just, I think when you read a book that's like sort of just comes together so wonderfully. I'm always curious to know like what the layers look like. I want to peel back the curtain and did you know that you were going to use these sort of Grimm-like fairy tales, very dark fairy tales, and as a sort of like the stepping stones for the story, and and then did you know, because you also sort of in the beginning we have a lot of Arya's point of view, and then we don't see like Michelle until sort of part 2, so there's new characters kind of come in and also of course stop showing up because they something, they meet an unfortunate end, and we won't spoil any of that, but so I'm just curious to know sort of the how you did. And also this is a sophomore novel, which I don't I know I've talked about this in other interviews, and those people who know enough about writers or writing know that the sophomore novel is notoriously difficult.
It's the one kill you as an author.
It's the one that literally sort of, and people say it's like, it's right, it is literally like that. It's not your career. It can very much be the death of us. So I'm, the fact that it was all those things for you, is so, first of all, kudos, because that's fabulous. But also I'm curious to know, as you were going through, how much did it, maybe the question I'm trying to get to is how much did it change from the sort of first draft to what we're reading now?
Absolutely. So actually the fairy tales didn't come in until maybe draft 4.
That was sort of where I was, that's interesting.
Yeah. So actually this book was very much a sophomore novel. I actually spent 2 years and I did 5 complete rewrites before I had a first draft that I liked. And so
Thank you. I feel so much better. Because I was like, if this was your sophomore book and it was like done
I've written many books.
Okay.
Most of them, 5 of them were this one.
Well, that happens.
Yes, I had to write it so wrong at first. And I mean, it was like the thing where like, actually originally, so the book now takes place in this one night, and it's all set in the library. Originally, it was only set in the library for half of the book. And then they leave for a good bit and then they come back. So it was very, very different. And I ripped entire characters out and put new ones in and completely changed so many things. So it's gone through a journey, and I'm so grateful to my amazing team for being so patient.
Well, it takes a team. I think it really, I agree with that.
Yes, they read draft after draft and very wonderfully encouraged me, like, it's not there yet. Like, we know you can do better. And they were absolutely right, because none of those previous drafts I didn't feel good about. And so it finally, something clicked with this last version, and the fairy tales were a big part of that, where I was trying to figure out how, like, why are these characters coming to this library for this one night? Why isn't this a regular tour? Like all of these details. And it was actually my brilliant editor, Jenny, who had the idea. She was like, well, why not just have it be focused around like this book of fairy tales? And that was kind of like a group conversation, brainstorming, which is the best. But after that, it was like, oh, okay. So suddenly we can connect a lot of these dots. We can connect these deaths specifically to the library and these fairy tales and like there's a bunch of secrets around it. And anyway, so it kind of all clicked at that.
It's like a key. It's funny because
Yeah.
Pinky Swear has something similar. It has,
Mhm.
is the current timeline, and then it has these snippets of
Mhm.
their experiences in high school, which did not exist until again, like a much later draft of the book. But once they were there, it just made so much sense. And yet, it's funny. I wouldn't have thought of it
Mhm.
until somebody else was like, it just needs some grounding in the past. And I thought, there's this, it's not that I really do think really good books generally don't happen all inside the brain of one human.
No, no. You need your people. You need to bounce ideas off other people, and it's all just part of the process, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, there can be an amazing, I'm sure someone has had an amazing book that they've,
Well, yeah, and I
but
say that, and I'm gonna hold on to that hope because it makes me feel better. I'm sure it is happening
yes,
as we speak, but I
but
do
no,
feel like,
that's how I work. I have to have people to brainstorm with, and you're just too. To the page,
mm,
you need that person to say, why not this? And then you're like, yes, that was meant to be there all along, and it clicks.
yeah,
So,
I feel that way too. And so, how long? I'm just curious, how long did it take you to write You're Fatally Invited?
so that one, man, that was an anomaly that will never happen again, I'm afraid. So I usually draft like 2 months, something like that, and then I revise quite a bit.
Yeah.
But Fatally went from the idea to drafted and polished and revised and polished and sold in 9 months. Um,
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
yes, and so I'm like that's great. I peaked, then never gonna happen again. But
Wow. That is
um,
unusual I mean, so it sounds like you have written books and you have
yes,
books that are sort of buried in the backyard, as I like to say.
yes. Oh, I
Okay. So
like that term. Yes.
this is not your first and second novels that you've ever written. So
No,
how
no.
many books did you write before you published?
Yeah, so it's hard to tell because it's like, oh, like how do you count the books that you wrote as a teen, or like those things, because
Well,
um
that I think you should count those, and also that's impressive because most of us didn't write books as teenagers. So, okay.
thank you. In that case, I actually haven't tallied up how many, because I as a teen I wrote almost a full-length trilogy, and it was hundreds of thousands of pages, or hundreds of pages, I should say, and multiple spin-offs of it. I was a very extra child, as you
Yes.
can tell now by reading this
Yeah.
complicated
I
book.
love it.
So I don't know how many those are, but Fatally, so I sold. It was the fifth book I'd written that I'd been like, I want to get published.
Okay.
So that was the fifth. This is the sixth. I'm now writing the seventh, but that doesn't count the 5 different versions of this book.
Sure,
And
sure.
so
Right,
it's like,
right.
I've written a lot of words.
You've
So
written a lot, which is, I
yeah.
mean, yeah. And actually, I kind of think, and I don't know if you feel this way too, but I kind of feel like I'm a little grateful that it was my fourth
Yeah.
novel that sold because
Hmm.
it felt like the idea of, because there's all sorts of people who, God bless them,
Yes.
spend 10 years writing that first
Hmm.
novel, sell it. And then when they have to sort of start something new, I mean, it's a real, and they don't have 10 years. You've got 1 year or
Hmm.
whatever, two
Yeah.
years. It's a
Hmm.
whole different thing. So you knew how to finish a book,
Yes.
which I
Hmm.
think is a huge piece of the whole of the puzzle.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how
So
do ideas come to you? Because this is, like I had commented on before we started recording,
mhm.
your 2 books are so
Mhm.
different from one
Yes.
another. And sort of, where do these ideas come from?
Yeah, so it's tricky. So for both of these, usually I try to start with inspiration. So like something that like speaks to me, or like a ooh, what if this,
Mhm.
possibility, or even a mesh of like, what if this idea mixed with this one, and that kind of thing. With these 2 books, it's funny. The 2 books that I've been published, they were actually ones where I had to sit down, like with a piece of paper and a pen, and be like, okay, I'm gonna write a book. Let's pull it out of me. Like it wasn't like I started with like a bolt of inspiration.
Mhm.
So these books really taught me like how to keep writing as a job, and like, okay, when I've got a deadline, I have to have words on the page, and I have to figure this out. Um, so for these, setting is a big one for me, like wanting to tie whatever plot very intensely to the setting to make it its own character. So that's usually one of the things that comes first. but I also look at like the big, like what's the commercial hook for it? How do I pitch it in one sentence that would make readers, go, ooh, that's different or that's interesting. And so I look at that vibe. I'm a big vibe person. So, once I kind of have like, oh, I have an idea of a setting, I have an idea of a hook, then I'll kind of like start, just searching pictures and keywords, and then it kind of like slowly unravels from there. So it changes with every book too, as you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that's true. So much changes with every book, though. Sometimes where the inspiration comes from can be a consistent if there's a consistent to be had.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us a little bit about sort of what you're working on?
Yes, a little bit. So I
Okay.
am having the time of my life drafting a book that is pure inspiration. Yes, and that has not happened since before I wrote Fatally. And so years ago, I haven't been this just like I just feel like I'm barely catching up after the novel. It's just unraveling in front of me, which is an
Wow.
amazing feeling.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. So it will have some similarities to my previous book. So, like Locked Room Mystery, you've got that element there. Setting is a big key point, vibe is a big key point. Definitely, I blend genres with each book I write. And so the genre blend is definitely that thriller, horror, and then plus something else element, and it's not sold yet, but hopefully it will. Hopefully I'll be done with it and then we'll be able to sell it, and I'm so excited for readers to get to it.
That's so
Let's
exciting.
say.
Well, it's amazing when you feel good. I mean, when you feel really good about something. So tell us a little bit about, so you sounds like you signed a two-book deal for the first two books.
Yes.
Is that how it worked?
Mm-hmm.
So when you say
Yeah.
not sold yet, it's of course, since you're just for listeners mostly,
Mm-hmm.
for those people, we have a lot of aspiring authors who listen to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so to let you know kind of what the world of publishing looks like, oftentimes they don't want to commit to another book until we see how sort of this book's doing, or at
Mm-hmm.
least until it's out in the world,
Yeah.
which is just part of
Yeah.
the crazy business of this business. So now, when
Yeah.
you're in the middle of a book, are as you are right now, what are your sort of, you're about to launch a book, so then you have to sort of put yourself on pause and do some probably launch stuff, as we all know. But what does a day look like? I know you got a young son.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So tell me sort of what's a day in the life of Andy?
Oh boy. It's, I've been in a season of a lot of transition. So I feel like my days change pretty much every day. But so I'm a creature of habit, so I'm desperately trying to nail down, my
Yeah.
schedule. But usually my writing time is when my son's at school, which is 3 mornings a week. And then I'm not supposed to be writing at night, but I've kind of had to, just because I have also had to, like do book launch things, and there's a whole slew of things that comes with launching a book, and
Yeah.
it starts months in advance, and so finding the time to be able to handle all of those things is has been tricky, but I've been yeah, I hope we'll find a more consistent schedule. But right now it's kind of like I have a little bit of consistent time and then just kind of wherever I can fit it in. So
Right. And
yeah.
are you somebody who tries, like, in a writing day, are you trying to accomplish like a certain amount? Is it just
Mhm.
about doing what you can? Are you trying to hit a word count? Are you trying to hit a time count? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so I usually go by word counts. So my goal these days is about 2,000 words a day,
It's a
which
pretty hefty goal when you have like such a short time.
yes, I'm have a lot of grace with myself when I don't hit
Good.
that goal and figure out how to readjust. But I'm such a like when I start drafting, I have to draft very quickly, and very like lean,
Mhm.
because I just feel like I lose all the threads if I take too much time away from it or if it takes too long. So I try to hammer it out like as fast as I can and just as lean as I can, and then then I can spend all the time fixing it later. But
You're more like you're almost staging it. You're like, this
yeah.
happens and then this happens and this needs to be said and this needs to be discovered like
Mhm.
that. So how long is a first draft approximately?
It's between 50 and 65,000 words.
Okay,
So it's pretty
okay.
lean. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then
Mhm.
a full book is about 100. Yours are a little
Mine are like, yeah, mine are like 90 to 95. So
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
hmm Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's
my books change a lot over revisions. So
yeah. Well, and I think that makes sense to me. So you're not necessarily or are you do you sort of do you know how the book is going to unfold? Do you sort of map it out other than the connections? Do you know sort of
yes.
okay, so you
So,
spend some time figuring out like this is how it's going to go.
oh yes, I don't draft until I have a several thousand word outline that's
Okay.
typically like chapter by chapter. Usually it goes completely off the rails when I start drafting. And
Okay,
it's,
that's yeah, I'm
yes,
always curious about that too. You're like, and that is not my plan.
yes, exactly. It's just my wonderful UK editor, when I was working on this book with her, because you know how you have to give summaries and then or
Yeah, and
like
then it all
synopses
changes. Right,
and it
right.
changes and whatnot. My wonderful UK editor was like, I don't think I've ever worked with an author who is so in the middle of both plotting and pantsing. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, I do both. And it's very stressful for me, but that's the only way I can do
Well,
it.
I know. I
So
mean, that's the thing that, that is interesting too. I mean, I do feel like that sounds like the outline gives you a sense of like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm getting into.
yes.
And then as you get into it, the sort of creative part of you is like, but this isn't quite right, so I'm going to go this way. And actually,
Exactly.
I think that's beautiful. I feel like as a non-outliner at all, I'm in that like I'm going to let the story take me, but I don't have the confidence of where it's supposed to go. So maybe, but I'm
Yeah.
17 books and I've never been able to outline. So
That's amazing. I'm
it's
so jealous of you. Like if I
oh,
could, I feel like I'm
why?
cutting a whole part of my process out, which would be amazing.
No, because I have to write like you. I had to, I mean, it sounds like you did it with Library After Dark anyway, but
Yeah.
I very much am writing like six versions of a book where I feel like if I
Okay.
could
Yeah.
outline and know kind of how it should unfold, then I maybe would save myself and
Yeah.
only be writing three versions of a book. But
Right.
it just
I
is,
wish.
yeah, it's whatever works, right? I mean, you can't,
Yes.
yeah,
You
you
can't
totally.
control how you work. You just figure it out and try to life hack it a little bit. But
So you mentioned that like some of these characters you took characters out, you put new
Mhm.
characters in. Is it safe? Was Arya there the whole time? Was she sort of because she does feel like sort of the foundational character.
Mhm. Yes. So she's our bookseller main character. They're on her ill-fated date. And she was always there. But her character actually when I first wrote, I think it was the first two versions, her character was dramatically different. It was
Interesting.
very yes. And I kept figuring out or trying to figure out like why is the story not working? Like why is her character just like she just was not cooperating. And then finally it clicked. Oh, she's completely different in character. And I didn't realize all the secrets that she had and all the connections she had until drafts three or four, maybe.
So was
And
she less sort of I'm not going to call her conniving because I don't think that's the right word, but was she
yeah,
sort of does hold back a lot
yes,
of stuff of her own, and was she more sort of on the surface or in the original versions?
yes. The original
Interesting.
versions, she was a very shy, sweet,
Yes, yeah.
like just kind of wants to be loved and taken care of
Yes.
character, which I had a big story arc for her, which was going to be fantastic. And then it was just like, she's just really not cooperating. And then I realized, oh, she's not shy and meek. She's
She's
very,
much more of a V. Schwab character, actually.
yes, she is.
So
She's
that's,
very
yeah.
headstrong and not shy with her opinions and such. And so it was really fun to see her character really flourish once I stopped trying to hold her back. So,
Isn't that interesting? And then when you were able to find out who she really was, of course, it made the process so much easier.
yes,
God,
it's amazing how that works.
such a crazy business.
Oh my gosh.
I hear people talk about it and think it's a little insanity. But then I also am like, yeah, that's how it works for me too. A
Yeah.
different version, but also
Mhm.
insanity. So
Yeah.
that's so exciting. So I know you're going to be in New York
Yes.
for tour on this book,
Mhm.
and also in Seattle. Where can people, find you, find out about what's going
Yeah.
on, and hear about Fatally if they're not familiar with you before this book?
Yeah, so my website usually has kind of like all the updates. It's just andepliego.com, my name. I'm on Instagram and I try to keep that mostly up to date with like locations and places I'll be. I'll be in New York, actually at Hamptons Who Done It this year, and then Thriller Fest in May. And yeah, and then I have a couple of scattered events in various places. So yeah, usually Instagram or my website will have
And
the
is your Instagram handle also your name?
yes, thank you. It's my name, Ande Pliego, and then writes. So
And let's just in case you're not watching us, which you got to go look at Andy's title, her cover, which is so cool. But if you're listening to us and not watching us, Andy is Ande and
mhm.
Pliego is Pliego. And I think if you searched in the Library After Dark, you would
Yeah.
find your way to Andy. But just in case you're going to try to look for her by her name, sometimes it's a little hard to navigate. And we
Yeah.
will be giving away a copy of the Library After Dark on our Killer Women Facebook page, which is Danielle's Killer Women, or the Killer Women Facebook group, or over on Killer Women Podcast on Instagram. And Andy and I are going to be at Thriller Fest
Yes.
together, which is,
Mhm.
I'm going to mess this up. It's when
Mhm.
is Thriller? May
May
6th.
7th.
Okay, 7th. May
Yeah.
7th to 10th. That's right. Okay.
Oh yes. That-
May 7th to 10th. Yeah, that will be the end of the Pinky Swear Tour, and my brain hopefully will return to full use after that. But in the meantime, that'll be really fun. I'm really looking forward to that. If anybody's in the New York, New Jersey, tri-state area, it's a really fun. You can come just for a day. There's like hundreds and hundreds of authors
Oh yes.
there,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
it's a really
Come see
fun.
us.
Yeah, it's even fun to just hang out in the bar, and you can usually spot some of your favorite author people. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
Andy, I really had so much fun with the Library After Dark. Thank you for coming on to Killer Women today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. It's been so fun to chat about this book and get to connect with you again. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So exciting. Everyone, thank you for joining us on Killer Women today with Ande Pliego, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.